Hi, it's Kalika. I'm going to show you how to finish up the animation of this photo collage that I began animating in After Effects and I didn't quite get to finish during the live stream. So here we go. We're going to animate the sticker showing up. We're going to do some things in terms of tightening up the design, and then we're going to adjust the timing and we're going to make the whole thing loop. Okay, so first of all, we're going to have the sticker kind of peel onto the screen. So I select the sticker layer. Up in Effects and Presets, I'm going to type in Page Turn. Double-clicking Page Turn, it's going to have the controls in the bottom left corner, okay? And I don't want it to be this sort of translucent color. I want it to be just a paper color. So if I go to the Render section and I go to if I go to Back Page and I set this to None, I can change the color there. And if I increase the back opacity, I can then click on the paper color and I can adjust the color. Here's the eyedropper. I can choose something from the sticker itself, and then I can just make it a little more saturated and a little bit darker. Okay, I hit OK. And then I want to adjust the light. I want a little bit of shine on there, not too much. And if I just take this shine and I drag it too far to the right with the light direction, it starts to look really plastic. So I'm just going to drag it kind of in between here. And if I increase the fold radius, that's going to make it look like stiffer paper. Now notice that our drop shadow is just around the edges of the whole thing. That looks kind of funky. And the reason why it's got that drop shadow and we don't see it in the effect controls is because that was actually a layer style. So if I turn off the layer style eyeball, then we don't have that drop shadow anymore, but we want a drop shadow, and we want it on both the back of the sticker and the front of the sticker as they overlap each other. So how are we going to fix that? Here's what we do. So we're happy with that. I also want to add a little bit of position animation, and I want to add the sticker actually landing. So the sticker is going to start like something like that. Okay, and I'm going to turn on the stopwatch next to fold position, and then a little while later, maybe at like 140 frames, I'm going to take that little control-y thing and just drag it to the lower left below the layer lower left corner. Okay, so if I just scrub, now you can see that that's landing. Hit letter U and I can see that. Nice. So I'm going to place my playhead on that second keyframe, P for position, and turn on the stopwatch. Hit letter U and I see both of those keyframe sets. Then I'm going to go to the beginning here, take my selection tool and just move this up like so. Okay, select both these keyframes and hit F9 to easy ease. If that doesn't work, you can always right click keyframe assist easy ease. Okay, so now this kind of comes in like that. Okay, and it's okay that, maybe it's not okay. I probably want to do like a little bit of fading on it, but we'll do that in a minute. Okay, so that kind of comes on, but I wanted there to be a drop shadow on both the back of the sticker and the front. So how do we do that? Well, if we take both that sticker layer and we duplicate it once, edit, duplicate, and I'm going to rename the top one sticker back, and I'm going to take the bottom one and rename it sticker front. I'm also going to change both their label colors so that it's really easy and obvious what they are. So I'm going to change them both to orange. Sticker back, where it says render, I'm going to set that to back page. And with sticker front, I'm going to set that render to front page. And if I take sticker back and in the effect and presets, I type in drop shadow. And you see now we have a little drop shadow there. I can increase the softness a touch. And I can decrease the opacity a touch. Now it's starting to look pretty nice. I can take that drop shadow, copy it. I can take sticker front and I can paste the drop shadow right on top of it. Okay, now I want both of these guys to fade on, but right now if I did a fade, look what happens. You start to see the front of the sticker through the back, and that's not cool. So this is an occasion for pre-composing. So if I select both these guys and I go to Layer Menu, Pre-compose, and then I call this PC-sticker, Then I can hit T for opacity right here at about 133 or so, and at 125, drop it to 0. So it fades on as it lands. And notice when it's halfway through the fade, you're not seeing the front of the sticker through the back. Now, one thing I want you guys to also notice is that if I turned on continuously rasterize, it screws it up. So don't turn on continuously rasterize for that, okay, friends? All right. So that part is done. I want there to be a drop shadow on the door. I want there to be a drop shadow on the fence. Let's deal with the door first. So now with the door moves into frame, but you see how the texture is not moving with it? That's because the texture that we're seeing is of the whole layer. Yeah, kind of unfortunate and not something I'm really a big fan of. And if I move this above the whole layer, a couple notches, see how it looks very different? That's not good. So my solution to this has a couple steps to it. I'm going to duplicate the whole layer first. Now, mind you, this is going to look different for a moment. So let's take a snapshot of this using the little Take Snapshot button. Okay. Then I'm going to go to Edit menu, Duplicate. So now I have two layers called whole. I'm going to take the second one and I'm going to shift select door FPO, which should actually just be door because it's what I actually animated. And I'm just going to select them both, layer menu, pre-compose. And this is going to be PC door. Double clicking on that, now I have this weird layer. So I want the whole layer, this texture, to only be visible wherever the door is present. Okay, so let's look at the whole layer. I'm going to hit letter U, and I can see that there's some animation on it, right? There's a Gaussian blur and there's some opacity animation. I don't need the Gaussian blur. Matter of fact, I don't need the opacity animation either. So I just clicked the name of the effect and hit delete on my keyboard, and then I turn off the stopwatch next to opacity. Then I'm going to take my door layer, I'm going to duplicate it, edit, duplicate, and I'm going to drop that above my whole layer. The whole layer, I want it to only be visible wherever the door layer is. So I'm going to take the whole and I'm going to, in the track mat column, and if you're not seeing that, just click at the bottom where it says toggle switches and modes. I'm going to set the whole, so it goes door, whole, door, select the whole, choose alpha matte door. Now we have the texture on the whole layer. Whole layer? Yeah, we have the texture on the door layer. Correct. Okay. But if I drag this, see how the texture is not moving with it? That's a problem. So what we got to do is have the whole layer move with the door layer. Matter of fact, we want both these guys to move with the door layer because otherwise you're going to end up with two sets of keyframes. Client asks for changes. Maybe he'll accidentally only change one of them. That would be bad. So I'm going to turn off, like after all the animation's over, turn off the animation on the position of my door mat layer, select both these upper guys, and with everything collapsed, parent them to my door with moves. And I can actually rename this door with moves. And this guy up here, this is all for insurance policy. So future me doesn't look at this project and go, what have I done? So right here, this is door mat layer, and this is whole texture for door. Okay, this way future me totally in the clear. Close up this little tab, and now we're starting to see something weird. If I just take this and drag it up a couple levels though, that's better. If I show my snapshot, there's virtually no difference. I say virtually because there is a slight difference in color. If I do this, let's see, continuously rasterize is doing weird stuff. So maybe I just need to adjust the opacity a little bit. So it's not opacity, sorry. I think I just need to adjust the hue and saturation a little bit. So let's just check this. Yeah, a little less saturated, a little more levels. I think that'll do the trick. So these are two of my go-tos for color. Just a little bit there, and then a little levels. And just sliding the black point to the right will give us a little more oomph in the dark areas here. And dragging the white point to the left will give us a little more oomph in the white areas. I thought I dragged you, friend. There we go. Okay, so we'll just drab it up with a little lowered saturation. Those of you who've taken my class, you'll recognize drop the satch is something I say a lot to you guys. All right, so I drop the satch there, and then maybe a little less lightness. Yeah, I think that's looking better. Yeah. Yeah. I actually like that better. Let me make that. It keeps like deselecting my choices. Yeah, that looks better. I like it with a little bit more oomph to it. Now, if this were a real client project, I would totally run this by my client before I like actually delivered it to them. I'd be like, yeah, so I made this change. I hope it's okay. Take a look. This is what it used to look like. This is what it looks like now. Just a good habit to get into, especially if you're going to be messing with a design that they took some time to approve. Okay, so I want to add a drop shadow behind that. So I'm going to, actually, I like the drop shadow that was behind the sticker. So I'm going to double click on the sticker pre-comp, and then in here, click on the drop shadow and copy it. Then I'm going to go back to my photo collage. I'm going to go to door. I'm going to paste it. We don't have to leave all the settings exactly the same, as long as it looks like it belongs to the same space. So one thing that I might want to adjust on this drop shadow is the distance. So maybe I'll set this to like 3 instead of 5. Yeah. Okay. Now the fence is a particular problem when it comes to applying a drop shadow. Let me show you what happens when I stick that drop shadow on there from our other layer. Even if I have this like cranked up to 100%, we see nothing. And the reason why is because of the exclusion blending mode that this was set to. When it's set to like normal and I have a drop shadow on it, you see the drop shadow. We increase the drop shadow. It's like, it's there, friend. But then if I change my blending mode back to exclusion, the drop shadow's gone. So that's a bummer. How do we fix that? Okay, so I came up with a thing. You ready for this? I take my fence layer and I'm going to duplicate it 2 times. Okay, so I'm going to make like kind of a layer sandwich. So I have 1 and then I have 2. Okay, one of these is going to be just black. Okay, so let's turn on our transparent grid. I'm going to change both of these top guys to not be exclusion. This one here is going to be fence fake drop shadow. And in here, I'm going to do fill, the fill effect. Now by default, the fill effect is red, which is stupid. So I'm going to change that to white, black. That's more shadow looking. Okay. T for opacity, and if I want to reduce the opacity of this fake drop shadow, I would do so by double clicking the second keyframe. Fine, we'll do that in a minute. We also want to give this a Gaussian blur. Why Gaussian? Simple blur gives us a nice softness. So I'm going to increase that Gaussian blur. Oh yeah, that looks good. Then I want both this and the layer above it to kind of work together. Okay, reason being, I want this shadow to only be visible under our fence layer. So if I take my fake drop shadow layer turning off my other fence, and I put it under our fence. It looks horrible. Like, look how nice that looks. And like, ugh, that's weird. It's not right. So what I do is I take that duplicate. Okay, this is my duplicate. This is going to be my fence drop shadow matte. All right. Now, in order for the matte to work properly, I need to make sure that it has no opacity animation and its opacity is fully 100%. But if I set this fake drop shadow to alpha matte, our fence drop shadow matte, it's only going to show up inside of that. We don't want that. We want it on the opposite side. So if I change that to alpha inverted, look, I have an edge. Look, now this layer has an edge. So this fake drop shadow layer, if I hit letter U, we can see that it has position animation, it has scale animation, and it has opacity, right? So we're going to leave the opacity alone. We're turning off position and scale. The matte layer, we're going to, this is after all the animation has happened, hit letter U, turn off position and scale. We're also going to take both these layers and we're going to parent them using our good old parent and link column to the fence layer. So the fence is going to move everything, right? This guy has no position keyframes. This guy has no position keyframes. Hit letter U. All we have are these keyframes for camera lens blur. And on the drop shadow, we have a set of keyframes for opacity as well. If I want to increase the distance on this fake drop shadow layer, all I got to do is use my arrow keys and just nudge up and left. Up and left, up and left. Yeah. If I want to make it less opaque, double click that second keyframe on it and change that maybe to, I don't know, 40. Maybe not 40. Double click 50. And it's all kind of connected together. So if I have any changes to the fence animation, for example, if I hit letter U and I needed to like move the position animation of this, like make it later, earlier, slower, faster, whatever, everything else is going to move with it. It's so great. And future me will really appreciate this. I'm going to take all these guys and give them the same cyan label color. This way, when I reopen this project, I know at a glance that all these layers belong together. Nice. Okay, so now I have this comes on, then that comes on, then the wood comes on, and then she comes on. Now she comes on and she has kind of a little too much animation to her. I'm going to hit letter U. Let's just double click this rotation here and just set it to 1. And let's move this keyframe inward. So I'm just going to play just her part back. And I probably want her to be quite a bit slower. So I'm just going to take all this, just move it over. So it's going to fade on, sure, but then the movement is going to be really slow. And I want this last keyframe on position to have a really, really like heavy ease. So the incoming there is going to be 70. Okay, real heavy ease. All right, that's going to look really nice. Okay, let's play that back. And if I'm having trouble with getting it to play back properly, let's just set our resolution to like 1/4 in the preview window. You can always tell if After Effects is playing back at what's called real time or not, which is to say the way that you're actually going to get it as a QuickTime or MP4, because this red text shows up. After Effects by nature is not a real-time program. It's going to play things back based on how much RAM is available, how much disk space is available, and so on. And if there's other processes in your computer that are occupying the video card or graphics card, that's going to affect it too. So I feel like the love songs sticker comes on a little bit late. And the beginning stuff is really slow. And the fence is moving too much. And then it doesn't end fast enough. So, and I've got to give this a little fade too. So let's see. White solid, T for opacity, change that to 0. Go to the end, increase that to 100. All right, that part's done. I want this to happen much earlier, so I'm going to just hit the left square bracket to move the layer and its keyframes. This is my left square bracket key that I love, and that's moving the layer and its keyframes earlier. I'm going to take my paint layer, hit letter U, see where that's at, and maybe I want my paint layer and everything else to kind of happen a little bit more quickly together. So let's just move this over. So like this. So now that starts at about 24 frames. And I'm also going to start my work area right there. So B for beginning of work area. And then on that last keyframe, I'm going to hit N for the end of the work area. So let's just play that back. And I had mentioned that I thought the fence was moving too much. I have a quick fix for a fence that moves too much. So this was our fence that had all the movement on it. If I just place my playhead between, like right about maybe here. Yeah, I'm going to turn on the stopwatches next to, I'm going to click the little dips next to position and scale. And that just, it's nice because what it does is it creates new keyframes at the current value. So I'm at 59 frames and I'm just going to turn on the stopwatch, click the dips next to position and scale. And then let me just get out of zoom. And then, where'd it go? Yeah, there it is. I can command or control click to reset those to diamond shaped keyframes. Click and shift click and then just shove them over. Okay, and then it won't move as much, kind of splitting the difference there. Okay, so let's play that back once more. Yeah, and I think that's pretty nice. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a loop. How do we create the loop? Well, first we need to figure out what our poster frame is. And I think it would be nice if the poster frame included the Love Songs label. Clicking off of everything, let's even collapse all of our layers. Just kind of tidy things up here. With nothing selected, layer menu, markers, add marker. Okay, now what that does is it creates a marker on your comp. When I shorten the duration of my work area, what that does is it's going to crop the duration to just this work area with the blue brackets on it. So trim comp to work area. Then I'm going to take this Photocollage animation, drag and drop it to a new composition. So you see this little film strip icon, just drag and drop it there. Alternatively, you can right click and choose new comp from selection. Both of those do the same exact thing. This one, I'm going to call it Photocollage anim-loop. And what I'm going to do to make this a loop is I'm going to take that animation at that marker, split it, and then put the pieces end to end. So if you figure it's already a loop, it just happens to start on white. We just want it to start from a different spot. Okay, it's just like a rubber band. So if I take this layer and I go layer menu, split layer, this is very similar to the razor blade tool when you're working in Premiere Pro or iMovie or whatever. So split layer. So now I have 2 chunks. With my selection tool, I drag inside the later chunk and I'm going to hold the Shift key down. Then I'm going to drag inside this second layer, holding the Shift key down. And when I play it back, it's going to be pretty cool because it's going to start on a beautiful frame and then the white is in a little bit. It's not going to start on the white. So a lot of times when I first started working with Instagram, I would create a really cool animation that started and ended on just a color or just on white, and then my poster frame would be white or a color. And this is just so much more satisfying. Okay, nice. So this is ready to export. To export, composition, add to render queue. And yours, if you've just opened up After Effects recently, might be set to current settings and lossless. I'm going to click the little arrow guy that's right here next to where it says current settings, and I'm going to choose best settings. Where it says lossless, I'm actually going to click the blue word that says lossless. Then up at the very top here, I want to make sure that instead of AVI, I choose QuickTime. Oh, that didn't work. Let's try again. And that's still not working. Okay, so instead of AVI, I'm going to choose QuickTime. Where it says Format Options, click that button. And up at the top here, choose Apple ProRes 422HQ. Hit OK. Hit OK again. Click where it says output to, there's some blue text, okay? You're gonna click on that blue text so that you can tell it where it's gonna save, okay? So it's not blue when it's not hovered. Click on that. And I'm gonna have it save into my KalikaFX collage exports right there. Then I'm gonna hit render. Okay, I'm not going to send it to Adobe Media Encoder yet, because if I send it to Adobe Media Encoder now, what's going to happen is it's going to be an MP4 and there will be color shifts. So if you render it as a QuickTime out of After Effects, and I'm turning on caps lock so that it speeds it up a little bit, then you can drag it into Media Encoder. And when you drag it into Media Encoder, it's going to be an MP4 with color that's closer to what you originally designed in Photoshop. Okay. And the default settings in Media Encoder are totally fine. One thing I like to do in Media Encoder, under Edit menu, Preferences, I have this set to start the queue automatically when it's idle for 2 minutes. I find this to be really nice. Start queue automatically when idle for 2 minutes. Another thing I do is play chime when finished encoding. It's very nice because then you get that satisfaction that you get out from After Effects when it's done. And okay, it's almost finished. Oh, it is finished. Here we go. So I'm going to click on this guy. So what I did was I just swiveled open the output module and then see this file path. If I just click the file path, it takes me right to the movie, which is really, really nice, especially if future you is like, where did you save this? And then you can go to your Media Encoder. You can grab up your export and just drag and drop it right in. It's adding. Here we go. And then I can just leave it at the default settings. I do kind of like to turn off the audio if I'm going to post it to Instagram or something, but you know, you don't have to do that. And then you just click this little green play button in the corner. So here, you can turn off the audio. Hit OK. And then click the little green button in the corner. And then once it's done encoding, you have your MP4 and you're happy. And in After Effects, just don't forget to save. As a very last step, what I like to do is I take my finished animation, I go to Dependencies from the File menu, and I choose Reduce Project. This deletes anything that's not currently being used in this project. Then I do Save. Any compositions that are not my main compositions, I select them out of order. Sometimes I have to with Command click on a Mac, Control click on a PC, drag and drop them to the new folder. I'm going to call this pre-comps. This is my loop. Save once more. Go File menu, Dependencies, Collect Files. And Collect Files is really handy because then you can archive this project, you can send it to a collaborator or a client or what have you, and it's just a nice simple little package you can put together. And then I can hit collect. Got to tell it where to save. So I usually in this folder, I'll make a new one called 05 archive or collected AE, either or, and then save, and it copies all the files in there, which is really nice. Now, the two things that don't copy over are any fonts that you used, unlike InDesign, and any special effects, like if you're using any specialty effects that you bought or downloaded that you used for this project. But in this case, I think we're okay. All right, friends. Well, that's it for today. If you have any questions, you can always drop those questions in the comments. If you haven't yet subscribed to my newsletter, that would be a good idea so that you can keep informed about future live streams and upcoming events. And I really hope to see you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. Have a great day.